The government of South Africa has begun the process of trying to procure 2,000 megawatts of additional power for the national grid through its risk mitigation independent power producers procurement program. This means that the government will go out into the market and get power from independent producers to add to the grid to offset and to augment the national grid, which is lacking power supply, which is why the country finds itself with bouts of load shedding. And secondly, to reduce the reliance on expensive forms of power such as diesel generators in the cases where the country can't produce power through the normal source, which is coal. At the moment, South Africa has an installed capacity of about 48,000 megawatts through Eskom, which is the national power utility. As a country, we need roughly 30,000 megawatts of power to run the economy on a daily basis. During the harder and more strict parts of the national lockdown, that South Africa did not experience load shedding, and part of the reason for this was because so much economic activity had actually stopped, grinded to a halt, or had been reduced, which means the country was operating below that 30,000 megawatt mark. Now, as the economy has started to pick up again, there is greater need for power from the national grid, which is why the country has found itself where it is. So the procurement program that's now been initiated by the government, set to purchase about the 2,000 megawatts of power, is said to be an emergency program, though the guidelines say that the power should be coming online as of June 2022, which means when we say emergency, there is a bit of a lead time towards it. This isn't power that's going to be coming onto the grid immediately. This is not something that's going to solve issues of load shedding today. Rather, these are all plans that are trying to augment the national grid for the future. The government is basically inviting members of the public, businesses, organizations, and entities that seek to produce electricity in South Africa to approach the government with their plans of producing or generating this electricity. Thereby, the government will go through the different proposals and choose who they're going to purchase this power on from, on a continual basis as from June 2022 date. Companies like Goldfields have been applying and trying to get a solar plant up and running for about 3 years now at its South Deep mines as a way to mitigate the risk of being on the national grid, one, and also the outlay of capital to pay those high electricity tariffs and bills. But up to this point, those approvals have not come. So if some of those applications have not been able to come through in the last 3 years, then what's to be said about this current process? The short answer to this is no, because we do have a long lead time already, and at the moment some of Eskom's power stations have been tripping in the last couple of weeks. There are some maintenance issues that have caused some of the load shedding that has happened over the last couple of weeks.